Hello everybody. In this video today we'll be going over our new ICNow desktop software. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible. It's just a general overview of the whole software. There are going to be other separate video clips that you can watch that goes more in depth into each individual module or section of the software. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and just share my screen, that way you can actually see this. Now, for the software itself, this is the general layout. So the focus of the software was to, one, for stability, make sure it's nice, easy to use, and it's not crashing on you. So we simplified the software as well. We streamlined it, removed a lot of the menus that weren't being used by a lot of people in the past and the old Smart ICRSS, and we focus on stability. Stability was the number one focus. We'll eventually have a version for the Mac users to come out as well, for Apple users. But in the initial launch, it will be primarily Windows. We are still in the midst of working on the Mac version as well. So now, without further ado, as you see here, we're currently in a light mode. There is a dark mode. You can go down to System Settings, and then you can go ahead and right here where it says Skin, you can click the drop down. You can set it to dark mode, and then you can hit Apply. For this demonstration, I'm just going to leave it in light mode, but it basically just inverts the colors and makes it all black and dark instead of white. So black or a dark gray with the red color fonts for IC Real-Time Colors. So this is the more streamlined menu interface. You can either navigate to the menus by clicking on either one of these boxes, or you can click on the ones on the left-hand side. This left-hand navigation bar will always be visible. You can collapse it to make it a smaller icon list and gives you more space for your camera view. Or you can expand it for those that like a larger or in-depth. And then, so it's really up to you on what your preference is there. Now, in regards to the actual software, as you see, I got a bunch of camera streams laid out here. I'm just going to go ahead and just real quick close all video just for the purposes of demonstration. Let's say if we have on the left-hand side, we have our camera selection. Now, one of the things in the past, and this is a quality of life improvement, is that you would have to know the name of each individual camera. And what if you have cameras just called camera 1, 2, 3, etc.? It's hard to tell. For example, like this one just called IPC. What corner on the building is it? So it's a lot easier if you have an actual thumbnail. You can kind of identify where you need to. This thumbnail system does have a limitation. It's designed around our snapshot command built into our cameras. So third-party cameras don't have our snapshot command built into them, so it won't work. So third-party cameras won't produce an actual thumbnail for you. But IC Real-Time cameras will. With the exception of some specialty cameras, specifically the LPR camera won't provide a thumbnail because we have the snapshot on that camera built differently because it was designed to build in with the license-based snapshot. So we don't want to cause any issues with the camera. So maybe this will change in the future, but for now, license plate cameras won't provide you a thumbnail here, but you can still click on it and load up the video feed at any time. I'm going to switch over to, instead of a 16 split, down here at the bottom, you can select the different views. You can go down to a 4, you can go to 9, 16. You can even click this little pencil over here, and you can go all the way up to 64. So it really depends on what you kind of need. You can always just change as well. So you can, for example, mark this one as your favorites, and then instead you got the 64 here on your split, depending on what you need. You can only save 3 favorite ones here. You can select individual cameras, double click on them. You can drag and drop them. You can drag and drop this, for example. And as you see, it takes within like 2 or 3 seconds, and it'll load up the video clip. One of the biggest issues in the old software was that it would load only cameras once after like 30 seconds. So it would take too long to load. Nowadays, with the difference is now it loads a lot faster with all those stability improvements. So we're just going to streamline that. So as I said, we got this. This is the general overview. We can go more in depth on some of the menus. We wanted to keep some of the options the same. That way people are still familiar with them. So that way it's not too much of a drastic change from going from the old software to the new software, having to learn every bit. So it'll be an easier transition for users. That way, as you can see, you have different ones. That is this menu. Oh, there's also this up here at the top. You can switch to a smaller thumbnail view and more of that listed version. Let's get rid of that. So you can get an actual list view instead, a little bit easier. If you want small thumbnails, otherwise you can go large thumbnails. It's all preferences. If you need to refresh the thumbnails, you can just press this button. It will refresh it. The thumbnails are updated every time you restart the software or like load it up for the first time. It'll reconnect and it'll pull the thumbnails again. Now into playback, you can still get that same thumbnail view system that we enhanced and added to the software here. So that's also, you can take advantage of it. A quality of life improvement in comparison to the old software versus the new software is, like, for example, on this timeline bar, you see how here it's green, and then you have this yellow orange stick over here that stands higher. This is a candlestick of when an event happened, and then the green is just your general 24/7 recording. So it makes it easier for timelines to be able to identify. So if you zoom in or zoom out on the timeline, you can quickly see where all the events are versus where the old way it was really, really hard to kind of pinpoint them. But the other thing is with the search, if you hit search, it does its quick search and it keeps the actual selected cameras and time settings selected in case if you want to switch to like another date, for example. And on this calendar selection, it's going to auto select the end and the end date for you if you do a 24-hour period. You can change through here, years and whatnot, but ideally you're just going to go ahead and select the different dates, and then that's it. It'd be easier just to navigate through here and then select the different dates. Anything with red represents that there's footage on that day. Anything without red mark won't have any actual footage on it. So that's just what to keep in mind. You just got to select from the start. You don't have to select from the end. And then you just hit search, and then it's going to search those clips. Give it a couple moments, and it'll load up your time bar. And then again, this also has like the whole same 4, 16, 9 split, etc. Again, we'll go more in depth on like using this, but there are some other enhancements. Like, let's say if we just play real quick here, I'm just going to play. When you were zoomed in on the time bar, one of the difficult things was being able to drag the time bar to be able to slide over in case if you needed to select the different time when you're zoomed in. If you left click and drag, you can move around on this time bar. So easier to control. The pressing locations are smoother. You can move this over and drop the candlestick wherever you need it to go. For example, I can stop right here and it'll start playing from there. And as you may have noticed, it played right away. It loads a lot faster. As I said, stability, performance, that was number one focus on this. That is the general overview of playback. Again, we'll cover more details in a separate video. Alert menu, this is the general alerts. This will requires you to do a little bit of setup here in the software, and we'll cover that portion as well in the actual setup video that covers alerts more in depth. But if you had alerts set up, as the software is running, it will keep, it'll stay connected to the recorder or camera that it's connected to, and it will keep an eye on basically all the events that you registered for. You can then click on either here on the left-hand side to play you can view the camera live video feed. Like if an event happened right away and you're just happen to be looking at it and you want to see it live, you can click on reel to see the live video feed. You can click here to see the snapshot. So that brings you the actual event. As you see with the license plate, it'll bring up the car and you'll see the snapshot of the actual plate number that was captured. You can always click over here if you have saved files to your computer enabled. Then you can click on the bottom one, which will be based off of whatever your recorder name is. And if you selected that one, then it will play back from your local record. It'll play the actual video clip. You can always click on device record, and it'll play back from the NVR instead. And that shows him driving up into it. If you did not set to record, let's say the files to your computer, you'll have records and reels still available, and you can at least still be able to play from the recorder directly. You can always also, in this menu, you can also look at the camera live video feed. So this is good for like if somebody's monitoring a site and they need a quick look through this. Besides that, the other one is obviously the device menu. This is a general layout menu that a lot of people should be familiar with. You add in your devices here. There is no device configuration menu in the software directly. That menu in the old software had a lot of compatibility issues because you're trying to stay compatible for all the old stuff plus all the new stuff. So it had a lot of issues. Instead, we focus primarily on fixing the linking through web via P2P. So if you're connecting to our recorders via P2P, in this case I am, you can just go over here when this becomes available. When it first logs in or log in, it's going to be grayed out for like the first 30 seconds while it establishes the path and connection. But afterwards, you'll be able to click on this. And once you do, what it's going to do is it's going to open up in your default web browser. You'll see a 127.0.0.1 IP. That's because it's a loopback. That's an internal routing. It'll create a tunnel basically, so you can get to your recorder's web interface, even if you're not on site. So then I can go ahead and basically log in. Let me go and log in real quick. That's going to save. And then from here, now that I have web access, I can actually go in and configure my cameras. I can change my image settings and things like that, where it would be very convoluted or very inefficient on the old software. Or like if I wanted to do alert center, I can go set up my IVS rules, and I can go ahead and do all that here. I'm just going to, the first channel is PR, but like if I did this camera, I can sit there and then create the rules as they need. It does take a moment to load up the video feed, depending on what you have settings in your network speeds. But you just click the plus here, and then you can create your IVS rule. You do your tripwire, intrusion box, whatever you need. With intrusion, you do your drawing, etc. So you get the concept. In my case, I'm just going to refresh. I'm actually going to create a rule right now. And so, yeah, you get access to the whole system. You can configure all the settings. You can even take advantage of the advanced search. So those that need to use the advanced search functionality that's built into our recorders, you can then go in here and do things like motor vehicle detection or whatever it might be. And then you can hit search and do the plate database searching. So you're not reliant on just the basic playback menu. And that's really the biggest feature there. It's really beneficial. Works really well. Performance may vary if you have like older machines. For example, if you have a machine from 10 years ago, I don't know how well it's going to work because obviously I can't test every single machine we've ever sold in the past. But primarily, we'll guarantee them anything that was sold in the last 5 years or so will generally work. So that's typically our working frame. This again we'll cover when we go through our individual setups. The log, this is so you can access like either your recorder log. You can see all like the events from the machine if you want. I'm not logged in with the main admin account, so I can't pull the record with this account. But if you're logged in with your administrative account, you can then pull the log from the recorder itself and be able to see events and things like that from the system log. The client side, that is a system log for the software itself. The only thing that's really going to be super beneficial for you, for the actual user, will be going into alarm log. And then from here, you can select your devices, and this will be your event log. So you can hit search, and then you can go back and still see those plates events. You can click on there, and you can see the snapshot. Because eventually, this list will fill up, and there's going to be a maximum amount of how many events can be listed in here. Or you restarted your computer, and this list may be empty. Then you're going to make sure, then you'll be able to access those events that did happen and save to your computer through here easily. So that is the overall view of the software. Clean, more efficient, added in some features that people were requesting for, and focus on performance and making sure it's not crashing. Another thing to notate about the software, which was a limitation on the old software, was that you couldn't use it with a standard user on Windows computer. So you'd run into the UAC block, for example. This is more for those that are having like an administrative location where every computer is locked down. You don't have administrative rights for every user, and they still need to use the software. Well, guess what? Now you can run the software without administrative rights. You still need an admin, though, to install the software onto your computer. And that would conclude the general overview of the actual application itself. There are some other guides and things that I probably did not touch on this in specific, but we'll cover some other stuff in some of the more dedicated videos. And there are plenty of help articles like how to silently install the software, for example, on our help center at icrealtime.com/support. Thank you guys. See you in the next video.